Why does every year feel shorter than the last one? When did it all start slipping away? Months disappear, weeks blur, Monday becomes Friday, Friday becomes December, December becomes last year. Another week, another month, another year. This year feels shorter than the one before it, and the last few years feel like one. Something new brings excitement. Briefly, a goal is reached. There's a moment of satisfaction, and then another task, another deadline, another thing waiting. You look up, it's evening. You blink, it's Friday. You check the calendar, it's December. Nothing is falling apart. Nothing dramatic is happening. You're functioning. You're showing up, but nothing seems to stay. Not excitement, not relief, not even pride. Everything fades faster than it used to. And it's not just time. It's the way life feels. You buy something new. It excites you for a day, maybe two. Then it's normal. You get a raise. It feels good. Briefly. Then the pressure adjusts, and the number becomes background. You finish a project. There's a small sense of completion, and then the next one begins before the first one lands. Vacations feel shorter. Conversations feel lighter. Even good news doesn't stay with you the way it used to. You're not unhappy. You're not in crisis. You just don't feel things as intensely anymore. And when intensity drops, time compresses. And it's not just time. It's the way your days are structured. Nothing fully lands. Nothing fully ends. You move from one thing to the next without ever fully arriving. A message comes in. You respond. Another task appears. You switch. A notification lights up. You glance. The moment you were in dissolves before it had weight. This happens all day, every day, and it feels normal. But something changes when nothing finishes, when conversations overlap, when work follows you home, when rest has tomorrow attached to it. Your attention never fully settles. It keeps moving, from screen to thought, from task to task, from noise to noise. And when attention is constantly divided, experience becomes thinner. You still live your life, but you experience less of it at a time. You scroll while eating. You think about tomorrow while working. You replay yesterday while someone is speaking. And the present moment becomes a narrow strip between distractions. Not because you are careless, not because you are weak, but because the system around you never truly pauses, and neither do you. Over time, the brain adapts. It lowers intensity, not dramatically, not suddenly, gradually. Excitement becomes softer. Anticipation becomes muted. Even frustration becomes flatter. It's easier to stay in motion when nothing feels too strong. So intensity drops. And when intensity drops, memory weakens. When memory weakens, days blur together. When days blur together, years compress. And suddenly 5 years feel like one. Nothing dramatic happened. There was no collapse, no breakdown, no clear moment you can point to. It was accumulation. Small interruptions, small distractions, small unfinished things. Every day, you adapted to it. Humans are good at adapting. When stimulation never stops, the system adjusts. It lowers the volume, not just of stress, but of everything. Excitement softens. Curiosity weakens. Motivation becomes mechanical. You don't wake up excited, but you don't wake up devastated either. You wake up neutral, slightly tired, slightly behind, slightly disconnected, and that slightly becomes your baseline. The unusual becomes normal. Being distracted becomes normal. Being mildly exhausted becomes normal. Finishing nothing completely becomes normal. So you stop noticing it. And when you stop noticing, you stop questioning. You assume this is just adulthood, that this is what life feels like after a certain age. Less intense, less exciting, less memorable. But common doesn't mean natural. And normal doesn't mean sustainable. The pace never slows. The input never stops. And without pause, the nervous system stays slightly activated. Not stressed enough to collapse, not calm enough to recover, suspended in between. And in that in-between state, life feels thinner. You still move through it. You still accomplish things. You still respond, but you don't fully land anywhere. And when nothing fully lands, nothing fully registers. And when nothing fully registers, time accelerates. And when time accelerates, you start losing reference points. Weeks feel interchangeable. 1 month looks like the last one. Conversations repeat. Mornings look the same. Even achievements don't create contrast anymore. You still move forward. But forward feels flat. You remember being younger and feeling more. Not because life was easier, but because it felt sharper, louder, brighter, more defined. Now it feels quieter. Not peaceful, just muted. You don't hate your life. You just don't feel inside it the way you used to. You go places, you meet people, you complete projects, but the emotional imprint is lighter. Things pass through you faster. Even good moments don't fully land. A dinner with friends ends, and it already feels distant. A success happens, and it already feels ordinary. A problem resolves, and relief barely registers. And because nothing is extreme, you assume nothing is wrong. You function, you respond, you manage, you optimize. But somewhere underneath that efficiency is a quiet fatigue that sleep doesn't fix. Not physical exhaustion, something subtler, a lack of depth, a lack of contrast, a lack of weight. Life becomes manageable, but less memorable, less immersive, less alive. And when life feels less alive, time feels shorter. Not because there are fewer hours, but because fewer moments leave a mark. You're not losing your life, you're just experiencing less of it. And the scariest part isn't that time is moving fast. It's that you barely feel it passing. Years don't hurt when they go. They just dissolve. Quietly. And one day you look back and realize you don't remember much of how you got here. Not because nothing happened, but because very little fully registered. You were busy, you were responsible, you were functioning, but you weren't fully inside most of it. That's what makes it heavy. Not regret, not failure. Just the sense that large parts of your life pass through you without leaving weight. And that's when the question changes. It's no longer, why does time feel faster? It becomes, how much of it am I actually living?